Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I am grateful. If you haven't seen my short trailer with January Makamba ahead of Mindspeak on Saturday, please take a look at it. Very interesting personality, says all the right things, really excited about being in Dar es Salaam this weekend. Back to reading Jack Kerouac and thoroughly enjoying him. Nothing behind me, everything ahead of me, as is ever so on the road. And then this is the photograph Robert Frak took of the road, and Jack Kerouac describes it. A long shot of night road arrowing forlorn into immensities, and flat of impossible to believe America in New Mexico under the prisoner's moon. And by now you know it's had quite a big impact on me. What is that feeling when you're driving away from people and they recede on the plain until you see their specks dispersing? It's the too huge world vaulting us, and it's goodbye. But we lean forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies. Kerouac again, I saw that my life was a vast, glowing, empty page, and I could do anything I wanted. And then from Kerouac I jumped to Sun Tzu, victorious warriors win first, then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first, then seek to win. All warfare is based on deception, hence when we are able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must appear inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. Sun Tzu. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. I like this painting of the Grand Robe circa 1800, made by an artist from a Central Plains tribe. That was via the New Yorker. Political reflections. Greece threatens to unleash wave of migrants on the rest of Europe, including ISIS jihadists. Greece has threatened the rest of Europe with a wave of economic migrants that could include ISIS militants if the country is allowed to go bust by international lenders. In a shock escalation of the rhetoric surrounding bailout talks in Brussels, the Greek defense minister Panos Kamenos vowed, if they strike us, we will strike them. European creditors told Athens to stop wasting time putting forward its proposals for economic reforms pledged by the new left-wing Syriza-led coalition government. If an agreement cannot be reached, the IMF has said it will discontinue payments on a 172 billion bailout, forcing Greece to go bust and crash out of the Eurozone. Mr. Kamenos said if they deal a blow to Greece, then they should know the migrants will get papers to go to Berlin. ISIS tricked victims into appearing calm with beheading rehearsals. A former translator, Saleh, said in an interview with Sky News that he was employed by the group to convince foreign hostages they were safe before they were killed in videos featuring Mohammed Emwazi, the 26-year-old radical known as Jihadi John. Speaking to Sky News from Turkey, Saleh said Emwazi ordered him to reassure the captives. He would say to me, say to them, no problem, only video, we don't kill you, we want from your government to stop attacking Syria. We don't have any problem with you, you are only our visitors, so they don't worry. Always I say to them, don't worry, it doesn't matter. Nothing dangerous for you, but at the end I was sure they would die. Borowitz report was always very funny, tongue-in-cheek in the New Yorker, says Kim Jong-un feels snubbed by absence of letter from Republicans. The North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un said on Tuesday that he feels snubbed by the decision of 47 Republican senators to write a letter to Iran, but not to him. The official North Korean news agency reported in an unusually forthcoming interview with the Korean Central News Agency. Kim said it was hurtful that the Republicans would send a letter to one of the United States' most long-standing enemies while totally snubbing another. Let's just call it what it is. They're playing favourites with enemies, Kim said. I tried not to take things personally, but it's hard to see them sending letters to Iran without feeling a little bit hurt. Kim said that over the past 2 days he'd had his aides check his mailbox on an hourly basis in hopes of finding a letter from the Republicans, but now he has pretty much given up hope. Honestly, I thought I'd at least rate a text or something, but, he said, his voice trailing off, I don't like to beat myself up, but part of me is like, what does Iran have that I don't have, he said. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like when you actually get nuclear weapons, people start taking you for granted. Currency markets, the euro is last at 106.11. Dollar index above 99, I'm sure. Japanese yen 121.46. Swissy 0.9986 when I looked last. Pound 150.47. Aussie 0.7606. India rupee 62.815. South Korean won 11.2853. The real 3.1158. I think the real is going to 4. Egyptian pound 762.48. And I haven't checked this because I was out in a meeting this morning, but the rand when I looked was 12.3695. Interestingly, on a trade-weighted basis, the dollar remains far from its highs in the mid-1980s and early 2000s. But the pace of the rise over the past half year is the second fastest in the last 40 years. Bloomberg has a very interesting piece, The Dollar is on a Tear. That takes me back to what I said in September 2014, a small window for sharks as dollar rises. And I was saying then, I think the dollar has just started getting going. There will be blood in the water. There is a small window if we want to be the sharks. And I think clearly what we've seen play out now confirms that. I think the Fed is just one headline economic print from raising interest rates, and even if they raise a quarter point in June, which I expect them to do, it will be the catalyst for a renewed surge in the dollar. I wrote about the King Dollar on the 9th of February. Let me put up some graphs I found on Bloomberg. Canadian dollar versus the dollar over the last 2 days. Have a look at this. My target for the Canadian dollar for the loonie is 140. Look at this graph, dollar against the Mexican peso. The dollar's at its highest level ever. And have a look at Bloomberg's dollar spot index. And you can see the huge move over the last 3 days. Dollar index 3-month chart I'll put up, and I remain a bull. Euro dollar, we're now at 106.04. My target is 0.93. I wrote about parity on the 12th of January. I think I was one of the first people to put out that call. That's why I like writing it and timestamping it. And I said then the euro-dollar exchange rate is headed to parity and even lower in 2015. Nanex LLC, whom I follow on Twitter, put out 2 interesting pictures. One is unusual swings in euro-dollar futures have markets spooked. And look at this image, and the euro-dollar liquidity is the black line. And then bond futures around the world of Germany's long-term bond way out in front and rallying on the news that Draghi's program was going to obviously look for that bond. Crude oil, last time I had a look, it was at 48.95. I think it's about 48.60 now. It's teetering at the precipice, about to tank lower and through $44 a barrel. Interesting piece on Bloomberg. History suggests OPEC's days could be numbered. Michael Levy, there's very little evidence that OPEC has been effective as a cartel for some time. The World Bank reckons unconventional and higher cost players such as US shale drillers and even biofuel producers may be the new swing producers in the oil market. It is the US, I wrote on the 13th of October, that is the new price setter for the oil markets. And I said this is a deep and important geopolitical development, and Bloomberg have caught up with that. Gold, last time I checked, 11.58, the figure. I expect a triple-digit print at some point in 2015. Sub-Saharan Africa, interesting piece on Reuters. Africa's oil sweet spot still viable after price rout. African oil explorers will keep drilling in select locations such as onshore East Africa and less complex projects off the West African coast. even with oil at $60 a barrel, executives and analysts told Reuters. But they warned that African governments with reserves in less attractive locations should revise terms now or forfeit the investment, leaving the oil and gas underground. There are still some exciting areas in Africa, like East Africa, and in particular the onshore areas, said Aidan Heavey, CEO of Tullow Oil, referring to drilling projects in Kenya and Uganda. This is certainly not the end of African oil, far from it, he said, but it's the end of it for now. Oil prices have collapsed from $115 a barrel in June to now sub 50. And then lots of interesting information about it. Mozambique's definitely going to happen, Tanzania gas will happen, but currently, at these current prices, onshore oil is not going to happen right now. If you want to get companies to stop looking at licenses again, then they have to be made more attractive. It's very simple supply and demand. Chevron is to accelerate asset sales to $15 billion on the crude slide. Interesting article on Bloomberg. The US Commercial Service, the export promotion arm of the Department of Commerce, doubled its presence in Africa over the past year to boost trade with some of the world's fastest growing economies. Agency opened offices in Angola, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Tanzania in the past 12 months and is planning its biggest ever trade mission to sub-Saharan Africa in September. Saying US companies have faced increasing competition from China in Africa over the past decade as the Asian nation targeted the continent for oil and other mineral resources. Chinese trade with Africa amounted to $174 billion in 2013, more than double that of the US, which was Africa's biggest trading partner 5 years earlier. South African oil share is up 5.08% year-to-date, has corrected 1,258 points and 2.358% since hitting a record on the 6th of March. The Rand is at a record low not seen since March 2002. I'll put up a 1-month chart, and it's clearly we're going to remain under pressure in this current environment. Egyptian EGX 30 is up 8.81% year-to-date. Nigeria all share down 9.28% year-to-date, but has rallied 13.666% since the 13th of February. Lots of interesting comments coming out of the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, who's got his finger in the dike. Nigeria will enforce the repatriation of dollar proceeds from exports and is planning sanctions against those not complying, he said. If you refuse to sell your export proceeds that you repatriate in the foreign exchange market, we will ban them from accessing foreign exchange in the Nigerian foreign exchange market. Another thing we will do is that we will ask the banks not to loan money to them, exporters who don't repatriate hard cash on time. Emefiele estimated that some $3 to $4 billion of proceeds due to be repatriated were outstanding, of which 40% would come from oil companies. We are saying don't put your foreign exchange in the hands of people who want to carry cash and take it abroad. Talking about the window is not closed, it is crushed and destroyed for life, said Emefiele. Nothing is going to be opened again, we're going to go back to a subsidized regime. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 3.7% year-to-date. The Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, is close to signing a $700 million 5-year loan from private commercial lenders led by commodity trader Trafigura to help fund its expansion. Euro is below 106 now. Equity Group reported full-year profit after tax, accelerated 27.768%. Assets up 24.067%. Loan loss provision was down to 1.59 billion from 2.401 billion last time. Gain on a disposal of an associate, 1,063 billion, I think that's housing finance. Full year profit after tax up 27.768%, obviously juiced a little bit by that one-off gain. Full year earnings per share up 28.96% to 4 shillings and 63 cents. And full year dividend hiked 20% to 1 shilling and 80 cents. The group's performance was supported by strong underlying fundamentals, including a 24% growth in the balance sheet, Mondi said. Moving on, M-Pes customers to receive up to 1 million shillings through phones. It will now be possible to get a loan of up to 1 million shillings through your phone, thanks to a deal signed between Safaricom and Kenya Commercial Bank on Tuesday. Bank will extend loans of between 50 shillings and 1 million to Safaricom customers registered on M-Pes. The advances will be charged at an interest from 2% per month, depending on the repayment period and a customer's credit rating. The deal mirrors a similar deal between Safaricom and Commercial Bank of Africa, M-Shwari, which hit 10 million customers last week. This product is a crucial answer to our country's effort to empower millions of Kenyans by availing credit conveniently through their mobile phones. That was Joshua. Bob Collymore said the partnership is part of the company's plans to increase the impact of M-Pesa on the lives of ordinary Kenyans. The volume of transactions has grown from 10,000 a day to 100,000. With a dedicated product, the partnership will widen the possibilities of what customers can do using their phones. I'll put up an interview I did on the 26th of February after the full year release of Kenya Commercial Bank's results. I did the interview with Joshua. Have a look at it. He was touching on this Safaricom partnership. On July 26th last year, Bob came to Joshua's Mindspeak and he asked a question. I'll put up that photograph. KCB share price data is linked on Rich Wrap-Ups if you care to have a look. Trailing PE of 10.302. Safaricom is up 12.099% in 2015, might well set a new record high today going by the price performance. If you didn't see my interview with Bob after the first half results, do have a look at that. And I'll put up a photograph of him. Kenya shilling 91.6, I call it the Teflon shilling. Stock market, it's a classic bull market pattern where corrections are shallow, is what I told Duncan. The Nairobi All Share snapped a profit-taking streak, which has seen the All Share correct 3.289% since setting a record on the 25th of February through yesterday. It rallied 0.5% yesterday. NSE 20 down 0.06%, but will surely turn around today. That's up 5.02% year to date. As I said, the All Share snapped a profit-taking streak going back to the 25th of February. The NSE 20, since hitting a 7-year high March 2nd, has been correcting. I expect that correction to end today. Safaricom is plus 12.099% in 2015 and all set to slice through its record closing high of 1585. Might even do that today. I think the markets are yet to price in the digital migration disruption opportunity that Safaricom are looking at. Nation Media up 3.82%, 2-day bounce after closing at a 2-year low 2 sessions ago. Scan Group issued a cautionary announcement pre-market opening referencing the lapsing of a long stop date. The agreement to buy 80.4% of Mark Group Limited. Scan Group traded good volume of 833,300 shares yesterday. Equity Group was obviously the most actively traded share at the exchange after the earnings release, which I spoke about. Standard Chartered has seen a big spike in volume of late, plus 5.67% in 2015. Recent price and volume action confirming a move higher. EABL firmed 0.33% to regain the 300 level. Trading 309, plus 3.34% at the close. Has corrected 14.285% off a 2015 high of 350 reached last month, and I think it's going to head back there. Mumia Sugar, big rally over 2 days, up a total of 14.184%, but I notice it's trading lower today. So let's see how that pans out. Once again, thank you for stopping by. If you want to follow the stock market in real time, register on rich.co.ke. It's free, and then go to Rich Live, and you can track the market during trading hours. Once again, thank you for stopping by.